Section 6.4 is where we're going to graph radical functions. So the first one we're going to practice is just graphing a square root function. So notice that you're going to have a vertex always at 0, 0 for our parent function, and that you're going to have half of an arc going in this direction. So you will always have this point going there at 1, 1, and then it's going over to the right side. We're going to use transformations to help us figure out where our equation or our function is going to lie on the graph. So remember, this number on the inside of our symbols is going to shift us left and right. This number on the back side is going to shift us up and down. This number in front is going to stretch or compress. And then I'm going to add one more thing, that if you have a negative out in front, that is going to reflect across the x-axis. Okay, so we've used all these transformations before, just reminding us what that's going to look like. Let's take a look at our first example. So we're going to graph this function using our transformations, and then we're going to identify our domain and range. This number on the inside is, remembering, going to shift us left and right. It will always be x minus. So if they did plus 3, that means they put in a negative 3. So therefore, I am going left 3. This one over here is going to shift you up and down. So since it's minus 2, I'm going to go down 2. You can also think of this as setting it equal to 0 and solving, and that'll tell you where it's shifting you on the x-axis. Okay, so before we had our vertex at 0, 0. I'm going to shift left 3, and I'm going to go down 2, and I'm going to put a point there, and that's where my vertex will go. And then I'm going to go up 1 over 1 just to get a little reference point and draw my half arc going in that direction. You also need to identify your domain and range. So remember, your domain are your x's. Are your x's all reals? No. You can see that your x's are stopping at this point here. So I am going to have x's greater than or equal to negative 3. And for your range, which is your y's, is your y's all reals? No, because I can see that it is stopping at this point here. So I have all of my y's greater than or equal to negative 2. So this vertex point that you have here will help you determine what you're going to have for your domain and range. Pause the video and try the got it question. So in the got it question, you would have wanted to go right 1, up 1, and then this negative out in front is going to have you reflect across the x-axis. So here's what I would do. I would go to my graph and I would go right 4, up 1, and if I'm reflecting across the x-axis, so originally it would go like this. So instead of it going up, it's going to flip down. So I'm going to be going more like this direction. So that is why I drew my arc going down. Now I'm doing domain and range. So my domain is my x's. So I can see that my x's are starting at 4 and they are getting bigger. I can see that my y's are starting at 1 and they are getting smaller this time because it's going down. So y less than or equal to 1. Okay, the next kind that we're going to graph, which is in part 2. So in day 2, we're going to graph cube roots. So in cube roots, your graph is going to look more like an S shape. Okay, so remember, you're changing this index to a 3. And we're going to have our vertex still at 0, 0, and you still have this part from the square root, but now it's adding in that other reflection across that y-axis. So you're going to go down like this. So more of an S shape. You're still going to use your transformations to graph these, but we're going to keep in mind that when we have a cube root, we're going to make that S shape. So originally, I would be here at 0, 0, and I would make my S. This plus 5 underneath here is going to make me go left 5. So I'm going to take my vertex and I'm going to move it over 5 spots to the left, and then I'm still going to do my S. So draw your S going in that direction. We still have to find domain and range, and domain and range for these are going to be super easy because they're not capping anywhere. So for your X's, you can do all real numbers. And the same for your Y's, your range would be all real numbers because you are not capping at any X or Y value. Because I'm going to continue going this direction and continue going this direction. Pause the video and try the next question. So on the next question, you would have wanted to go right 1, up 2, and then again, you're reflecting across that x-axis. Okay, so for your transformations, I'm going to go right 1, up 2, and this would be my general form. All right, if I'm going to reflect across the x-axis, this was going up, so now it's going to go down. This was on the down part, so now I'm going to go up. So think of like a horizontal line that's going through there. So that's why I drew my S going like this, because after I translated it, that reflection is going to flip down here, and this guy gets to flip up. Domain and range will still be the same deal. It'll be all reals for both because you're not capping anywhere. Those arrows are indicating going in both directions. All right, that is graphing your square roots and your cube roots.